Welcome, listeners, to Can You See How I See with Keith and George. We look forward to having an insightful conversation with everybody today. How you doing today, George?
Doing pretty good. I'm busy down here getting ready. We go every year over to Hickory, North Carolina, and we do this big woodworking extravaganza with Klingspor Woodworking and the people from Rikon Lays. So I've been getting all my stuff together, getting into a big pile to go over there, and I'm going to be their demonstrator for them for their big 2-day event that they have over there this coming Saturday and Sunday, and looking forward to that. It's always fun. You meet all the people that you haven't seen in a whole year that come through the show every year, year after year, and get find out what they've been up to and what they've been making and what they're excited about. So
So
should
you're
be a good time.
basically you're kind of in a booth with a piece of woodworking machinery, doing demonstrations and interacting with people. Is that what is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm the demo guy. They have a couple lathes set up, and I'll set pieces up on them, and I'll stand there in turn for the event, and people come up and ask questions about the lathes, and I dispense knowledge as the best I can as to technique and what kinds of things work good for me and suggestions for people who have problems, how I can help cure those problems. And the whole goal is to, try to sell them a new lathe.
So how long does it take for people to realize you're blind when they're talking with you?
It depends. I do this show so often that most people are already, the people who regularly attend the show know, and the people who have followed me on Facebook and that, and the people who've seen my articles in Fine Woodworking and American Woodworker and those kinds of places, they're pretty aware of who I am. It's try to tell people all the time, your eyeballs don't do one single bit of the work. It's your hands that do all the work. So you just got to learn how to direct your hands.
Right, copy. Yeah, so today I'm getting ready for we have a huge production in northern Michigan next week at Black Star Farms. We're working on Detroit City of Chefs 3 and we're which is basically a film about the agricultural community and chefs. And you know that you've heard the word farm to table. We're actually going to create a film that really is focused on farm to table and the relationship between chefs and farmers. And the film will really become kind of a film that's really about the vegetarian community, but we should all be eating our colors every day, and Michigan's got some great bounty agriculture, so it's gonna be kind of exciting to do this film over the next 8 months.
As you know, I'm a Traverse City native, and it's been fun to watch Black Star Farms grow from just this little teeny tiny two-person operation into this, amazing venue that it is today. It's really cool.
Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of here in Michigan for our agricultural community for sure, and little boutique farms like that started out that have become mainstays in our culture, in our community, and in business community as well. So, do you have anything? Did you say you had something to share with me about eyes?
Well, I like putting things out there to get people to go look at things and stimulate their brain now and then. And Oliver Sacks, who is a great researcher and neurologist and different things, he wrote a book called The Mind's Eye, and it talks about there's a lot in there about people with different kinds of vision loss and different things. And if people are curious as to, how different kinds of vision loss affects your brain, and we've spent some time in this podcast, talking about these kinds of things, neuroplasticity and that, and so there's a real good spot to take a look and see how, if you go blind, how your brain will take the places in your brain and annex them to take information that you take in tactily or you take in through your ears or and process that into visual imagery. For myself, I know that if I pick up something and put it in my hands and look at it, um, this glass lid here, if I pick it up and put it in my hands and I look at the different shapes and designs on it and the textures and everything, I'm absolutely convinced that goes to the very same place in my brain as if you look at that visually. Only mine, only mine may have more depth to it because your ability to see 3D is somewhat good, but it's somewhat limited as well. Your sense of touch, you can easily feel things as fine as the human hair. So you can add to the information with your fingers, things that you may not have been able to add visually.
So the mind's eye is really a thing.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Well, today's show, George, is going to be, as we continue on our aging journey that whether we like it or not, you and I are on, we're going to talk about how physical fitness can help the aging mind and the aging body and why it's important. And I wanted to invite somebody on the show that is he's aging as well, but he's not our age, of course. But he's past his 30s. He's past his prime in what he does, but he's still doing it very actively. And his name is Ryan Rao, and he's a well-known champion triathlete globally. That's his claim to fame as far as what he's done over the years. But he trains individuals, and he trains a lot of individuals that are in their 50s and 60s, and so he's had to help modify and help them understand how to approach aging in a healthy way through physical activity and training. And I think we're going to learn a great deal from Ryan. So without further ado, we're going to introduce Mr. Ryan Rao.
Thank you for having me, Keith. Nice to be here with you, George. Wow, I think you overstated your introduction.
No,
first of all, I've competed internationally. I wouldn't say I'm globally world famous.
So listen, before we get started, let's you step into the many different competitions from a triathlete standpoint you've been in over the years that you like to so proudly, not humbly, talk about, because they are impressive. And then explain to the audience what a triathlon is.
Well, after actually last weekend, I'm not sure when this is going to be aired, but the Kona, Hawaii Ironman World Championship for women just took place last weekend, and Keith and I both know it very well for different reasons, but that's one of them that I've competed at, the Ironman World Championship in Kona. I did that as an amateur. I have competed in the Ironman 70.3 World Championship, both as a professional and an amateur. I've competed in the International Triathlon Union duathlon, which is a run bike run, as opposed to the triathlon, which is swim bike run, world championships, and then just numerous national championships all over the country, United States. I've traveled, to many different countries to compete. It's just been an opportunity that I've used to just kind of benefit, I guess, my own business as a coach and as a personal trainer, but also to have fun, stay healthy.
Didn't you just recently qualify for Monte Carlo?
Nice, France.
Nice, France.
The 70.3 World Championship will be next September in Nice, France, which is where my wife's always wanted to go to the French Riviera. So if I can qualify for a race or compete somewhere that she'd like to travel to, that's usually a bonus.
When I was 19, I worked and lived in Monte Carlo. So,
oh, yeah? Okay.
I love the French Riviera, dude. So explain what a triathlon is, just for everybody. Explain the origin of it. What is a triathlon? What's the origin? Why do people do it?
Some people would say the origin was in Hawaii, if you want to go to the Ironman standard. Couple people had a friendly competition, whether a swimmer, a cyclist, or a runner was the best endurance athlete. So they decided to combine the three into one event and see if the swimmer won, the biker won, or the runner would win the event. And they picked various, and this was for extreme endurance. They picked like a swim off the coast of Hawaii. This was done in Hawaii. They picked a bike route around one of the islands in Hawaii, and then they picked the Hawaii marathon route, and they combined the three, and that's what eventually became the Ironman.
And then what are the distances?
Well, and this is what I like to encourage everybody who's looking to get into triathlon. There's different distances, and anybody who does any of these three disciplines at these distances is a triathlete. So I don't want to think that you have to do an Ironman. I mean, that's extreme, but any distance, a sprint distance, you're swimming 500 meters, you're biking 20 kilometers, running a 5K. So that's a sprint distance. And that's where a lot of people get introduced into it, and they just kind of want to get a feel for triathlon. And then you move up to Olympic distance is what you see in the Olympics now. That started as an event in 2000, I believe, was the first year they had triathlon in the Olympics. So you're swimming 1,500 meters or about a mile. You're biking 40 kilometers or about 25 miles, and then you're running a 10K, which is just over 6 miles.
In one day.
In a couple hours.
Well, yeah, for you a couple
That-
hours.
that-
For you a couple
For the
hours.
Olympic- Yeah. So then you have the half Ironman, which is half the distance of a full Ironman, where you swim 1.2 miles, you bike 56 miles, and then you run a half marathon.
And then, of course, an Ironman is
2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run.
So I sit here, George, and you've had some extreme physical experiences as well. I sit here, in a sense of awe because I was fortunate in 2003 to have done Ironman Kona in Hawaii, not because I was a triathlete, not because I was a great athlete, none of those things. I was invited to do it strictly because I came off as a survivor, and I did it for the Leukemia Foundation for a little boy. At the time, his name was Adam Rose, young man who was paralyzed from the waist down from chemotherapy, and I did it. We raised $20,000. So I had to train for. I had to show I could do a half Ironman. So once I agreed to do it, I had to do a half Ironman, which I did barely, but I trained my ass off, and then I did the full Ironman, which I'm proud to say I finished, even though I finished at 16 hours, 16 and a half hours, cutoff was 17 hours. So I almost didn't finish. But for me, I just want to get to the end. But it was exciting because I was able to roll Adam through the finish line in his wheelchair at 16 and a half hours. So for me, I finished. But
did you pull him on the bike, push him the whole time, or did you just roll him the last mile?
No, push him and pull him on the bike. I had a hard enough.
They do that. There's some
No,
triathletes
listen,
out there.
there are guys out there and gals out there who have taken their loved ones who are paralyzed or something, and they've swam with them, pulling them on a raft with the rope in their mouth, riding with them on the front of the bike, running with them, and the most famous one is
the Hoyt family.
The Hoyt family,
Yeah.
Don Hoyt, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Don Hoyt, yeah, who did it with his son many times over. And these guys, the perseverance and their dedication and love for their loved one, taking him on this race and completing it is beyond imaginable. So I was just fortunate and honored that I could partake in that for something like the Leukemia Foundation. But so I have a question for George, but before I ask that question to George, why do you do this? Why did triathlons, I mean, you're an extremely great athlete. Why, you were a basketball player. I mean, what was it about triathlons that spoke to you? And what do you get out of it?
Well, that's
Now, first, how old are you now?
45.
Okay.
I just turned 45. It happens quick. I remember
You're
I was
a youngster.
Yeah, right. That's what they tell me. That's what most of my clients tell me. Like, oh, you're young still. I'm like, I don't know about that. I remember after college, going back to when I started triathlon, one of my best friends from high school, he went to run at Eastern Michigan. I ran at Alma College, cross country and track, and he was a great swimmer. And we were out swimming in his lake one day, and he's like, hey, you should do this triathlon I'm doing tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, okay. Where is it? Why should I do that whole okay, whatever. So I went home and I asked my dad if I could borrow his bike, and I biked up and down the road a few times. I was like, okay, I swam with my buddy. I got a bike that works, and I know I can run. So literally the next day, I showed up at the race, and I had my running shorts and my running singlet, and I did it. I jumped in the water. I was second to last out of the water in my age group, or my group. I don't know if it was just all the males going off, or it was our specific age that went off in a different wave. And I got on the bike, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And got passed by a lot of people. I thought, and speaking of age, there was, again, I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, but I got passed by a woman with the number 41 written on her calf. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting passed by a 40-year-old woman on the bike. This is very humbling. Again, didn't come off the bike in a very great place, and then started the run, and that was my strength. I passed as many people as I could and enjoyed it tremendously and was kind of hooked. I love to I love to compete, not to always win, but just to be out there, and the challenge of it. I love the what I do now as a coach is the numbers, learning about heart rate, power, how to pace yourself, how to do the right nutrition. So it's a lot to learn, and I love the learning aspect of it. The camaraderie, the people who do it are all good, healthy people. It's a lifestyle that people like to live. You get to travel, you get to go to cool places, meet a lot of neat people. A lot of the connections that I have to this day are still through triathlon and through athletics. There's just you do get like you feed your ego a little bit, but actually once I got rid of that, I enjoyed it even more because you're not worried about the pressure of, oh, how am I going to do? How's this going to look, or what are people going to think of me? It was just like, it's just a fun time. You go out and you do it, and I love running. I live on a lake now. I love to swim. I don't really get to bike outside as much as I used to, but my uncle, I used to ride with him quite a bit when we got together on family get-togethers. So there's just a whole lot of dynamics that kind of come together and just create this experience.
George, you had a pretty incredible experience. Still hard to wrap your head around experience. Talk about that skiing trip, and where was that again?
Did it back in 1980, 81,
I was born in 80.
Okay, 81. Did it in 81. And so I've been a really avid cross country skier ever since teenager. I joined a ski club, cross country ski club, I think when I was 10th grade in high school and started skiing. I've skied all of the major ski races in Michigan. In fact, the White Pine Stampede in northern Michigan, it's the 50K race. The very first year that they ran that race, the guy who set it up was an absolute masochist, and there was 250 people that started the race. There was 43 people who finished the race. I was number 43. It was
Jeez.
the course was just unbelievably hard. It went right up the backside of the ski slope in Mansalona, and it when I say up, I mean it's like a mile and a half of herringbone right up at the backside. It was just horrid. I mean, just horrible. And it was like in the middle of the race, and the wind was blowing. You could see the people ahead of you when you were skiing, but you could see no tracks where they had skied because the wind was blowing and it was snowing that hard. It started off at somewhere's around 0 degrees and went downhill from there. So the conditions were just horrible. So that was the one of the toughest races. I've skied the Vasaloppet in Traverse City, Vasaloppet many times. I've skied the Berkey Binder in Minnesota a couple times. I skied the race in Bemidji a couple times. So I've done a little bit of cross country skiing. So that got me tuned up to be on the U.S. Paralympic ski team, and I represented the United States in 1980 and went to Iowa, Norway, and skied for the U.S. And then the next year, because of that, some people picked up my name, and they were putting together this trip to start on the Kola Peninsula in Russia and ski all the way across Norway, Finland, and Sweden, a little over 500 miles. And I was
Jesus.
looking I was looking at Ivan Castro's thing. We're going to interview him in the future here, and he went with Prince Harry, was it, to they skied to the South Pole. And I look at the amount of equipment and the people and the support they had, and it's amazing. We had a topographical map, a compass, and a sextant. We had no communication devices whatsoever. If we didn't show up at our checkpoint, then people would just assume we died. You know what I mean? Because that's we. And I look at people. People won't go across town today without GPS. And I thought we skied all the way across there with just a map.
Real
Yeah,
quick, 500 miles. How long did they give you to go 500 miles, and how many checkpoints did you have to hit?
three checkpoints along the way where people resupplied us. Our group resupplied us with food and fuel, which was the biggest thing. Our biggest problem, obviously, water. So trying to convert snow to water with fuel is very labor intensive, takes a long time. We every day when we skied, we always looked for open water, and it's there because the animals need it too. So you can find it. But it took us over 40 days to ski the whole way. The
Wow.
warmest day of the trip was the last day, which it got to 32 degrees. The coldest day was 57 below zero. Um, we pulled all of our gear in pulks. We pulled all of our gear ourselves. We got resupplied, they said, at 3 different points along the way. But we basically just out on our own.
My gosh,
I
amazing.
think about the Ironman. We get water breaks and aid stations every 10 miles on the bike.
Yeah, yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
George, that would have been a great reality television show.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So,
it's funny. At a ski race one time, someone was trying to hand me oranges or something like that, and the person says, "What's wrong? You got snow blindness?" And I looked at him. I says, "No, I just got plain blindness."
so as we step into this conversation, I have a question for you, for Ryan. And I know there's been studies on this, and I think it does make sense. And obviously, you're going to help us understand physical activity and training and all that, the importance of all that. But isn't it true that you should always have something you're planning for in the course of your 6 months of life or a year of life that you are physically trying to build stamina for, to work towards? So you always have that something you're working towards when you're working out. Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, it gives you something to train towards mentally, to kind of look forward to.
Doesn't it? Could just be going on a family hiking trip, or
anything.
it could be a
Like,
race, or
it
it
could
could be
be
just
a family, like with my clients. Hey, I got a kid's wedding that I want to get in shape for, or we want to go on this vacation that I want to get in shape for, if for lack of a better term. There's always a motivating factor. I mean, it's good to have that. I mean, my clients are like, always have their race schedules. We plan on their what races they're going to get trained for. It helps. I mean, and then other people are, less likely to continue a program if they're not shooting for something.
there you go. So the value.
Yeah.
So talk about the type of clients you have and the work you do and what you see in the aging population, the benefits and the things that work and the things that do not work, and what that we should always be concerned with. I mean, I can't bench press 250 anymore. You
don't need to bench press 250.
right? So it's the thing.
If worse comes to worse, the adrenaline will kick in if you need to lift something heavy. So I mean, again, over years, I've been doing this for 22, 23 years now.
How many clients do you have?
Oh, I don't know, a couple 30 hours a week, something like that. I mean, and then I have online clients that I coach more for the triathlon and running and marathons and stuff like that. But at the gym, I mean, you generally get an older community who comes in, and whether I was just speaking with one of my clients, and he brought out the sheet from 15 years ago. He was 51 when he started, and he's, 64, 65 now. And he's been training for 13, 14 years. And it's always like, hey, I'm going to work. I need to be willing and able to do my job well. I need to be strong enough to keep up with my grandkids. I need to do this event. My kids want to run this half marathon. I got to get ready for that. So my clients they range from, middle-aged, housewives to grandparents. I do have some younger clientele, which are fun too. People my age who I get to, they're in their 40s and getting started with their health journey after getting their jobs and their families secure. But yeah, most of them are, if they're in their 60s, they're always like, oh, I wish I'd started this when I was in my 40s, or I wish I'd started this sooner. So it's a lot of it is kind of playing catch up to get them to a point where they're building strength, they're building their endurance, they're increasing their flexibility, so they can just basically like do things around the house that some people, oh, I pulled my back out, or oh, I hurt, I pulled a hamstring hiking up a hill. You want to avoid those things. That just normal everyday activities, you don't want to turn into something that's strenuous and the body can't handle.
So one of the most important activities that probably I would imagine you're going to talk about is flexibility.
Well, that's
George,
of it.
George,
Yeah,
didn't you
part
say
of
the
it.
floor is getting further away now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I trimmed out a house a couple months ago, and people put the baseboard down a lot further than it used to be. It used to be real easy to get down to the baseboard and back up. That is not anymore.
Hmm. And that's, something like that is just so true, like everyday life. I mean, most of us aren't trained to be Olympic athletes. Most of us aren't trained to be professional athletes. Most of us are training to be strong, healthy individuals that enjoy life, that don't want to deal with chronic pain, chronic disease, want to be able to get up every morning and only have a few cracks in there, as you get up and you just move around. So I kind of focus on three things when I'm training: strength training, building muscle, maintaining muscle, limiting the muscle loss as we age. So there's always that aspect to the workouts. I do cardiovascular training. You want to train the heart health. You want to build your body at a cellular level to be able to process and use oxygen, which again is key for longevity and again limiting chronic health decline. And then flexibility. You want to be able to move. Most injuries occur in the joints. Shoulder injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, and if you can, you limit those issues, falls, imbalance, instability that people often again lead to injuries. So you want to be, increase your flexibility. You don't want to, again, the more flexible you are, the less injury you're prone to become.
What is it let's just take men, for example. As men age, what's one of the most vulnerable parts? If we don't do anything, if we're not working out, we're not doing any exercise, the trajectory of where our aging process is going to go, what's going to start really being affected first? Bone density, atrophy of muscles.
Well, both. They go hand in hand, because you have to, in order to build muscle, you have to put a stimulus. You got to, press against heavy object, pull a heavy object, whatever it might be. When you're doing that to build muscle, you're also building bone density. So that stimulus of weightlifting is not just making you stronger, muscularly, but you're working on your bone health as well.
George,
yeah.
George, do you do anything currently now besides? Well, you have a very physical job in relation to carpentry, but do you do anything else besides that?
No. Um, I understand I probably should have some sort of regiment that I should take part in, but I don't. But I work in my shop almost every day, which is pretty physical. I mean, 90% of the time, you're on your feet, you're picking stuff up, you're setting things down, you're pushing things, you're pulling things. I mean, I get a pretty good workout. It doesn't give me the cardiovascular that I should be working at probably, but I've also found as I age that I'm tending to or trying to become a lot more cognizant of how I do things. When I was younger, you didn't pay any attention to how you pick things up off the floor and set things on the floor. You didn't pay a lot of attention to when you climb a ladder how you bring the things up the ladder with yourself and that and I've started to become a lot more thoughtful about that. I try not to, you know, I will get down off the ladder and move it over rather than overreaching out to the side because I don't want to take a topple off. Um, and how I really think now about how I pick things up off the floor. When you're young, you don't think much. You just bend over and picks stuff up. I pay attention to picking things up, if you can, to the side and use your legs and your arms both to pick things up. Um, and because it's a necessity now. I mean, you just have to think about that.
So
And,
physical activity, Ryan, physical activity, not only is it great for your physical, but mental too, right? I mean, there's been a study about the stronger your legs are, the safer you are to any dementia scenarios. Now they're linking muscle strength, activity, and exercise to mental health as well as mental cognitive health. So there's a lot of connections that we've learned over the years now that we never knew.
Right. It's not that you're specifically going, hey, I'm trying to train my brain. It just becomes an offshoot of the muscular training. You need to increase blood flow. you need to increase, which increases oxygen flow to the brain. So when you're weightlifting, or whether you're even like cross country skiing or you're in a yoga class, your brain is being trained. You don't think of it like, oh, I'm going to go train my brain. I'm going to go do a yoga class, or I'm going to keep up in a spin class, or I'm going to go try to bench press 200 pounds. But your brain is active. And the more active you are, we found, that oxygen, that blood flow to the brain is helping maintain brain volume. It's maintaining the connections in your brain. I think George threw out neuroplasticity earlier in the talk, and you're trying to create avenues in your brain to continue proper brain function. It also increases the size of the hippocampus, which is one of the things that often declines with Alzheimer's, right? So we found, like, not only does strength training increase the size of your muscles, it'll increase the size of the parts of your brain that might otherwise atrophy and then develop these, whether it be dementia or other brain issues.
And I've had a chance to be in the gym with Ryan on a couple occasions, and the one thing that my immediate takeaway from his training style was you spend a lot of time helping people understand how to use their body and balance. We take balancing so for granted, but what are the Boise ball, the half
Bosu ball.
Bosu ball. It's half like a half of a ball.
Yeah.
So George, what Ryan will do on this Bosie ball is that instead of worrying about lifting weights, he'll say, let's just have you stand one leg, hold one leg in the air, and put your arms out and balance to see how your ankles, calves, knees, and everything have to work together, and the value of that.
Yep. One of the things that is, again, with like where I got a certification was National Academy of Sports Medicine, NASM, and they hit on doing activities in the least stable environment that you can do them in. So if you create an unstable environment, whether you're on the Bosu, whether you're just standing on one leg, whether you're doing a staggered lunge, while also trying to do a bicep curl, an overhead shoulder press, or some sort of abdominal twist, you're trying to, again, it stimulates your brain to connect to other areas, other joints, other muscles besides the primary mover, which again, it activates your brain just so much more. And again, you're training your brain as much as you're training your muscles, so that, hey, maybe you're walking and you slip on the ice, your brain's going to quickly activate to catch yourself from falling, where maybe somebody walks on the ice, they haven't done some training, and their brain isn't as quick to respond to that stimulus of a fall, and then you actually do fall. I've had a number of clients come back to me like, oh, I slipped on the ice, or, oh, I was going for a hike and I tripped, but I didn't fall. I caught myself. I felt my abdominal muscles flinch. I felt like, again, like Keith was talking about, like my ankle didn't roll because I recognized that it was starting to roll, but it was strong enough, or I trained it enough to what to do in those situations.
Yeah, we take those things for granted, but that's because you're activating muscles in a training process that strengthens those muscles, and muscles have memory, and so you find yourself in a situation that could be harmful to your physical body, and those muscles activate over a memory,
and they just respond.
Yep. I'm sorry, George, what were you going to say?
In my teaching, when I teach people how to use a lathe, okay, you hold the lathe tool and it sits on a tool rest, and that goes against the piece of wood that's spinning and it does the cutting. And what I teach people all the time is that your arms have a lot of nice muscle in them and everything. Your ability to pick your forearm up like you're doing a curl, that muscle gets a lot of activity during the day. The muscle that lets you move your elbow from your side out to directly to your side, like you were a bird flopping your wing, that muscle, that's the one I really concentrate on with people when you're running the lathe, because that muscle doesn't get used. It doesn't have a lot of strength in it. It doesn't have a lot of endurance in it. So I teach people, when you're using the lathe, you hold the tool tight against your hip, and then you use your legs to move back and forth instead of your arm, because your legs are used to holding you up all day long. So that muscle's got a lot of endurance. So if you fatigue yourself, If you fatigue your arms when you're trying to turn something, then you get sloppy and your work doesn't come out as good as you would like it to. If you learn to use your whole body and dance with the lathe and work from your ankles, letting your body move right and left, and then moving from the hips to rotate instead of using your arms to rotate, you can save yourself a huge amount of energy, and it it all works together, and trying to teach people how to use their muscles to be more efficient is really important in what I do as it is for people training for a triathlon.
George, you should consider getting a T-shirt made that says "I dance with the lathe," or "Come
There you
dance,
go.
come dance with my lathe."
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
It's interesting that George, you mentioned that the how you use muscles that you wouldn't otherwise think to use the lathe when people are watching you, but how important those secondary muscles are. And there was a triathlon or a triathlete who did a former professional, and he had gotten out of the sport for a little bit. He was coming back into it, and his goal was to train 7 hours a week for like 6 months for an Ironman, which is not a lot. I mean, that's, again, one of those things like professionals are training 20, 30 hours a week. And my claim to fame was trying to train less than 10 hours a week and go sub 10 hours for the Ironman, or, the less, kind of get that idea. But he was coming back, and 7 hours meant 1 hour a day. He wasn't going to try to even do a 5-hour bike and a 2-hour run to get 7 hours in for the week. He had 1 hour a day per week. It was just a challenge. And when it was all said and done, I mean, he was a good swimmer. He didn't swim a whole lot, and he did some of the biking and the running, but he said the most important thing that he felt like he should have done more of was the strength training, because the more aware of your hips when you're cycling, the stronger your quads are, the efficiency of your shoulders and your back muscles when you're swimming, just the proprioception that you develop from weight training, you don't get as sloppy when you're trying to perform an activity. And he said it felt like when you're running, your hips have got to be stable. He built strength around his hips that allowed him to perform efficiently even when he got tired. And again, a lot of us, when we get sloppy, is when injuries happen, when we hurt ourselves, when things deteriorate. But he said that the weight training was one of the most important things that he did to maintain efficiency. And I'm sure using the lathe and doing the word work, if you get sloppy, the work looks sloppy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So it's kind of using the same, like, you don't think about it while you're doing it. Like, oh, I should, train the muscles, maybe not in the way that I would swim, bike, and run, in the form of movement that I'm used to doing for an event, or, even woodworking. But if you train those muscles as a secondary tool to fall back on, so you don't get sloppy, you're more efficient.
Do you find that most of your clients, when you weight train now, in the weight training mode, do you see a difference between using a stationary machine versus free weights? Of course, free weights, you do less weight, but the supposed value of using free weights like dumbbells, et cetera, kettlebells, is your body has to compensate for balance and things like that. So you talk about that a little bit?
So yeah, most of my clients will use like 90% free weights. Cables, I mean, we'll use the barbells and stuff. We'll do lunges and squats. I'm going to call that free weights. There's a few exercises I'll throw people on machines just to focus on a particular muscle group that maybe they just have a hard time mentally engaging. So we can get on a machine like, all right, this is the muscle we're trying to use. Just focus on that. So we'll do that. But most of the time, yeah, it's free weights. Functional, I call it functional training, functional flexibility, being able to move a weight through a range of motion, as that is maybe a little different than just, a specified, like on a machine, it's just going to go in a straight line. You got to move inward, outward, rotate this way, move this, tweak that to kind of move in a more natural way, I guess you would call it. So yeah, most of my clients, it's a lot of free weight, a lot of body weight, training, again, just to mimic everyday life movements, while still getting stronger. And one of the things you mentioned was how, like, you lift less weight. And yes, you might lift less weight based on the number on the weight, but the stimulus your body is responding to, the only thing that's worrying about the weight, and this goes with George too, your mind doesn't care what number is on that weight. Your body, your hands are responding to the stimulus you're providing for it, and your body changes based on that stimulus. It's going to respond to the stimulus. So, I mean, back in the day, we didn't have numbers on weights. We had rocks and fields. And it was like, hey, let's pick up this rock and do some squats with it. No one was worried about how much weight it was. It was like, hey, go to fatigue. Your legs are burning. Okay, that's as many as you can do. Let's pick up the next biggest rock and see how many we can do with that rock. And that's essentially your body doesn't care how much weight you're lifting. You know,
So what is fatigue in a muscle? What is that? Is that, you hear it's lactic acid? I mean, what is fatigue? When you're saying, and you hear that, when you feel that burning, what is that? And why is it a good thing?
Well, if you didn't burn, your muscles would injure themselves. You'd live to the point of like complete injury and destruction of your own self. You know, you can't do that. It's just like, there's a reason why your heart rate goes up and your core body temperature goes up if you're running in a hot environment. You need to stop or else you're going to kill yourself. So there is a certain point of, okay, the body's processing it. The oxygen, the energy that you use to push the weight, it eventually either we need more oxygen, we need less oxygen. And the byproduct of that is, are you again building up lactic acid, the burn that you feel, or are you able to continue going and find kind of like a happy medium homeostasis? So that's why, like when you're weightlifting, it's a more anaerobic. Your body doesn't have enough oxygen to continue lifting that much weight. You might not have enough, energy in the muscles. I mean, we can go in. I don't want to go into the Krebs cycle and creatine phosphate and adenine triphosphate, all that sort of stuff. How the body breaks down the nutrients in its cells. But yeah, you end up just burning out. You end up the byproduct of the energy you're expending is a more again, too much carbon dioxide in the blood, not enough oxygen, and your body just can't sustain that. But
And that's where the burn comes in.
That's where the burn comes in. It also becomes in you don't have enough muscle fiber. Your muscles aren't big enough to lift the object, the weight that you're trying to lift. So I might experience that burn sooner with a heavier weight than you might experience because you're stronger and you can handle more weight and more reps than I could at that certain weight. So you experience the burn later than I do.
I doubt that, but thank you for that. Thanks, George. Hey, you're older than I am, brother. Hey, can we, at 66, what should I be concerned with? Can I still add muscle? Can I just work the muscle that I have?
Depends on your starting point. You know, if you didn't have much to start, studies show that yes, you're still going to be able to build some muscle. That being said, if you were Arnold Schwarzenegger and you were lifting that much weight and that big, when you're younger, you're not going to be able to build it. You're not going to get to that point unless you probably still, even with the testosterone and human growth hormones that you can supplement with, you're still not going to get that big. However, yes, you can delay the percentage decline by starting a weight training program. I mean, they say that decline starts in your 30s. Everyone's a little different, whether your genetics, your activity type. But yes, you should, no matter how old you are, you can start a weight training program. And you're not going to get huge, but you are going to get stronger.
Yeah, so for people out there saying, I don't want to get too big and bulky, and they're in their 50s or 60s, not likely it's going to happen.
Not likely. I mean, you could...
The benefits of weight training in some form outweigh the concerns of, I don't want to become a bodybuilder.
And if you're concerned about becoming a bodybuilder, that's not going to happen. I mean, the bodybuilders, the amount of supplements, the amount of time they spend in the gym is totally different than working out 3 days a week with weights.
George, if you could ask, if you can, and you can, what kind of question would you ask Ryan as it relates to your own personal well-being? Things that you might like to adapt in your life or should?
Because I happen to be, relatively educated in the field because of, I went to the, U.S. training camp, for the Olympics and spent some time there 2 different times. I've gained the knowledge. It's just applying it to my own daily routine. I mean, I understand that. I do have some curiosity questions. Have you ever swam the Straits of Mackinac across the Straits of Mackinac?
No, I haven't. I've had the opportunity to watch people do it. It's a 1 day event. I don't know if they still do it. It's usually around Labor Day, And
I don't know either. I did it. I swam it, I think in 1978 or something like that. Just four of us or six of us, I guess there was two people in kayaks and four of us swam. And that's a pretty invigorating swim.
now,
And then,
did
and then,
you do that as an event, or was you just
no,
did it?
no, just for fun.
Yeah, you can't do
Just
that anymore, unfortunately, George. You have when my friend did it, they literally had Coast Guard, and if you got underneath the bridge, you got taken off the course, and you're disqualified. You actually had to follow the course, and
we swam right under the bridge. We
Yeah,
swam
no,
right under the bridge. That was before anybody cared, I guess.
right.
Things are different in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I used in the summertime, I used to run, 50, 60 miles a week to stay in shape for skiing. I have never ran a marathon. I'm certain back then, I'm certain I could have. I've run some 10K races and that, but I just stuck to the 50K cross country ski races. That was, and then at one point in time, right, I got into endurance rides on horses, and I would ride 50-mile rides and 100-mile rides. And, and, people think about the fact that, the horse does all the work. They're crazy. You try sitting on a horse for that far and you use a
Oh, I
lot
believe
of
it.
muscles. I mean, just the amount of core strength you need in your abdominal muscles and everything if you're going to sit a horse properly for that length of time. I
Not
mean,
to mention your
that's
ass.
Well, if you sit on it right,
yeah.
if you got the right core muscles and you're using your upper body properly, and you got your feet the right length stirrups, you'd be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, your weight is pretty well distributed, between your legs and your butt. I mean, you can't just sit on your butt and not use your legs, you'll fall off. And
That's one of the things that actually, with the clients I train, I have a whole, a great number of clients and backgrounds, and now that I'm training somebody who's a horseback rider, and it's different. It's different to a challenge to come up with the workouts that meet her needs compared to other athletes who have other specifics, whether they're training for the Boston Marathon. It's like not completely, but yeah, it's a different style of training. And it's funny you mentioned the horseback riding. I'm curious, how hard is it? Like, how exhausted are you after that horseback excursion you went on?
you're at 100-mile ride. It's as tough, if not tougher, than doing a 50K cross country ski race.
Okay,
I mean,
and you're probably soring a lot
you're
different muscles.
you're done. I mean,
Yeah.
you're done. I mean, I can't think of the lady's name, and you may want to, if you're not familiar with this, you may want to look at. There was a lady back in the 70s that wrote a book called Centered Skiing, and she wrote another book called Centered Riding, because it's basically all the same balance muscles for either one of those activities.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of my Bible when I first started cross country skiing, and that book. I mean, to learn how to, become centered, become balanced, and that's such a huge part. That's one of the things I see that people really miss when they go to a gym and they're doing weight training and all that. People don't spend nearly enough time, I don't think, on balance, because that's such an integral part of being able to do anything well.
Oh, absolutely. That's, again, one of the things that it's funny. I look at my son, he's 20 months old, and watching him do a squat, it's better than anybody doing a squat in the entire gym. His center of gravity is low, but just the way he moves, the way he's trying to figure out and balance himself just to get up from a squat. And you see that, and he just, again, hasn't thought about it yet. He hasn't aged enough to, again, not do it properly. But then, yeah, it's like we almost have to return to those roots where he's so focused. His brain's just trying to process, okay, my feet are on the ground, my butt's here, and this is how I need to come up with my knees. And it's perfection. And then you just see everybody trying to mimic it now, and they're, as they get age, and they're just like, oh, what's going on? What happened? And again, that balance is so important that we just forget, or we just don't live lifestyles anymore that require us to engage those muscles. I mean, we're sitting here talking. I mean, that's what most people do for a living now. They sit, and the percentage of activities and vocations that don't require physical labor has gone up so much. I mean, I couldn't tell you if it's 80% of the workforce is sitting now for their jobs. Whereas you, George, like you say, you describe your job. I mean, you're exercising 6, 7, 8 hours a day just by doing what you do, and maybe you want to increase your cardio a little bit. You know what that used to feel like to do the cross country skiing, but you build up such a a base with your prior cardiovascular, you could probably jump right into doing some harder, intense cardiovascular exercises as well.
What can we take away? What can our audience take away as a really simple? Let's just imagine that, the guy and the gal that's sitting on the couch or in the car driving, and they're listening to us ramble on and stuff like that. And they go, listen, I don't belong to a gym. I've been working all my life. I just don't have the time. I know it's important. What are the couple things that, let's take the word balance, that they could do every day at home, just simply to start? And so much of the process of staying healthy is starting.
Mm-hmm.
But what they just simple.
So these are just a couple examples. I have a client who, when he takes a shower, he tries to at some point don't do this at home the first time. Stand on one leg, lift up his foot, and wash his feet. And just be able to kind of he does that every day when he showers, just to check on his balance. Again, don't go there with your first thing to where you kind of lift your foot up to clean your feet off. Standing one leg while you brush your teeth. It seems a lot easier than it is, and you go do that. Anything that you can do on two legs, you can try on one leg. Those are a couple things. One exercise that I like to do with my clients is basically one-legged squats from a bench, and they get to put their hand on the bench, but they try to get themselves off the bench with just one leg. A lot harder than it is.
So they're sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
like a chest bench. They're sitting on a bench. Put both hands on there.
You can start with both hands. Yeah.
Or put one hand on there, and you're gonna stand up with only one leg.
With only one leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's again, you're like, oh, that's easy. And then you go to do it, like, oh my gosh, how do
No, it isn't.
Right, it's not. But that's and I get we need to do this more often in our workouts. We need to do this more often. That's one of the things that they say. Oh, this is a tough one. I need to do this, and it's a simple exercise, and anybody can do it from a chair at home.
Right, mobility.
Another again, this is a simple one. Back to flexibility. When you tie your shoes, can you lean over and touch your toes and tie your shoes with your legs straight?
No, there's no way.
Just
I almost swore just now. There's just no effing way.
Right? So that's something you can work on. When you tie your shoes, try to just lean over with your legs straight and lean over and try to tie
I'll
your shoes.
snap my hamstrings.
You might, but you'll work on it. You'll be like, okay, I'm stretching it a little bit. I didn't get there today, but the next time I do it.
Yeah, I have the worst. My flexibility sucks. I really need to spend more time stretching.
But you can do it in everyday activities. Like I say, just tying your shoes.
Right.
So that's before you open the door, walk out the door for a 30-minute walk. There you go.
George?
I used to be able to do standing backflips. I don't think I'm up for that anymore either.
Yeah, I don't have too many clients doing standing backflips.
I like to film that.
Yeah.
Hey, teach us the difference, because I never can't explain this properly. The difference between a fast twitch muscle versus long. There's two different muscles, and why they're both important to understand what they do for your body. Like fast twitch is
fast twitch are
explosive running,
explosive. Well, yeah, sprinting,
box jumps.
Box jumps, plyometrics, anything that requires more power.
At a fast notice.
At a fast notice.
Aren't there like short muscles or something like that?
Oh gosh, I can't. You gotta go back to my human physiology in college. I'm trying.
But it's important to understand the difference. And then there's
and then there's slow twitch, which are the ones that again oxidize energy better, and then that's generally your primary movers when you're cycling, when you're running. Anything that is longer than 15 seconds, where you're really explosive. I mean, your fast twitch muscles are your football players, your baseball players with these really quick movements, powerful movements.
But it's important to do that as you get older.
Because it's one of the best ways to train elasticity, like tendons, ligaments. You have, in order to maintain the health of your joints, being able to move quickly through a movement really stresses those. And again, you don't want to go out and try to do box jumps the first time, but hey, can you do a step up, with a quick step up? Or can you go up the stairs fast? Kind of thing. Hold the rail, but how fast can you move your legs up the stairs? So the power movements, and again, the more powerful you are, you have to move your joints quickly. And in order to move your joints quickly, you have to have a little more elasticity, more flexibility through your joints for those quick movements. And then, whether you're sprinting, whether you're throwing a medicine ball, that's a good power exercise for your upper body. Just trying to get a medicine ball and chuck it up as high as you can, and again, like if you're just doing bench press, you want to just knock out a few fast bench presses, just some power movements, you can do that. And then for your slow twitch muscles, that's what you're going to be doing over and over and over again, whether you're cycling, you're swimming, you're running. And again, that's where you get into more an anaerobic type of energy usage.
Leg presses, squats, those would all be.
Again, for the fast twitch, the more power production is more your fast twitch.
Okay.
Like if you're doing a leg squat, you're going to probably do more fast twitch, but then you're going to use the slow twitch muscles when I go out and use a bike, and I'm biking for half an hour.
So you're doing all this. You said, all right, listen, it's time for me to dial this in and get healthy, and you're starting to try to address this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about diet. How important is diet as an aging body? I mean, what you eat today is going to determine how you live tomorrow.
Well, what you eat is what your cells use to reproduce. I mean, you literally are what you eat. And so you eat a lot of processed crap, your body's going to turn into, you're not going to produce really healthy cells as much as you would if you eat healthier food. So again, we know what's unhealthy. I mean, that no one is anything that comes in a box or a bag is processed with tons of chemicals in it. And that's not what your body's wants to use to produce the cells. As you get rid of cells that die off and the cells that you then reproduce, you're using it from the nutrients and the minerals and the chemicals that you put in your body.
Yeah, people often lose sight of that your body is like a factory. It's a machine.
Oh yeah. What are you putting into that factory that then produce the cells that then those cells are your bones, those cells are your muscles, those cells are your brain, those cells are your blood. I mean, yeah. So I mean, we all know we need to eat more proteins, right? Because proteins help with muscle or synthesis in order to produce more muscles. We all need, that's important. And then we need the vitamins and the minerals that come from, your vegetables and your fruits, your lean fatty nuts and seeds and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, again, I've lived it, so it's hard for me to like.
So
I still like my ice cream, don't get me wrong. But again, if I eat ice cream, I'm going to get the ice cream with like 5 ingredients, like cream and milk and sugar and, real stuff.
Right. What, George?
I think that you don't understand people who eat, boxes of, garbage, that you can buy. But it just doesn't taste good. If I'm going to eat, I want to eat something that tastes good. So, it is my personal opinion that, fresh spinach tastes so much better than spinach out of a can. I know it was good for Popeye, but I mean, it just doesn't do anything for me. And I love vegetables, and um, I'm one of those fortunate people that I've probably never been overweight in my whole life, and really empathize with people who have weight. My brother has always fought with weight problems until just the last 10 years, when he's lost a lot of weight because he's been ill, and that's not the right way to lose weight, but it has actually made him a healthier person. So there's been some benefit to that.
Mm-hmm.
But what you eat is so important. I mean, I don't understand why people don't put more of an emphasis on that. I live south of the Mason-Dixon line, where they believe if you can't fry it, you can't buy it. So I'm not a fried food fan.
So, Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
this has been fantastic. George, do you have any other questions of Ryan?
Are you gonna come down here to Tennessee and run the Brushy Mountain 100-mile? I guess that's supposed to be the toughest 100-mile race in the country. Have you
Are
considered
you
running
referring
that
to the
one?
Barkley Marathon?
Yeah, the Barkley Marathon over at Brushy Mountain.
I I really honestly don't have a desire to do that. That is, I've watched too many videos of it. They've what they put themselves through. That's a little too extreme for them. I mean, if I think of doing an Ironman as like going to work for a day. You know, it takes me 8 to 10 hours or whatever. The Barkley Marathon is like, what, 4 marathons in a row. You get 3.5 days to do it, and I think they've had maybe 20 finishers over the last 10 years. That's that's beyond what I feel like I'm comfortable doing. But I
Yeah,
appreciate the invite.
I think the first lady ever finished it last year, the year
Yeah,
before
last
that.
year. Yep. And that was a great achievement. It's actually, I think that was even more exciting than the guys finishing it before her. I mean, she was incredibly strong. And
Yep.
again, just very strong woman, very determined, just focused, and just to see that determination, if people could put that focus and determination into just the simple things here, it would just be amazing just to see how people can transform their lives just through, again, just the through exercise, through giving yourself goals to work towards. And you don't have to be the first female to finish the Barkley Marathon, but you could be your first individual self to to get stronger, to complete a 5K, to start a membership at a gym and keep it up for 6 months and see what happens.
Nice, great advice. Great. How do we reach you? Do you have a website?
I do. It's Echelon Multisport, all one word. Echelon is when you see the cyclist kind of at an angle holding a pace line as the wind's blowing from the side. So check it out, Echelon multisport.com. And it just kind of, whether you're trying to connect with me for coaching for triathlon, I do swim coaching, run coaching, cycling coaching, and then obviously the personal training that I get to do.
In good, practical lifestyle coaching.
Yes, it is all about just living the lifestyle that, as most of my clients say, they do the personal training so they can do everything else.
Yeah, very good. Brian, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Keith.
George.
I have one last question for you. I know another guy that shares the same last name as you do, is a little older than you. Does he take any of your advice?
Listen, George has a great tee up. Tom Rao, as he explained to us, is addicted to training. And yeah, Ryan is his trainer, and he keeps his dad. Yeah, I love the fact that I love working out with my son. He pushes me harder. You push your dad harder than most of your other clients?
I push him as hard as he allows me to push him. How about that for an answer?
There you go.
Yep.
But let me ask you, let's just stay with this a second. Is it a fun relationship to be your dad's trainer? And are you proud of where he is in his life?
It's
actively.
He sets a great example for his physical fitness, for his health. And so again, a lot of people are like, oh, your dad, he went and hiked this mountain, or he's still getting out and doing this, doing that. He's still, he likes to hike mountains. I think that's his favorite thing.
Yeah, I just saw him in Iceland, trekking through Iceland,
Iceland,
leading a group, and
Ireland.
he's 74.
Is he 74? I think so. Yeah, he's so we go out to like Wyoming, and it's kind of cool because go hiking the Tetons, and he's trying to keep up with me, and then now I have three kids, so it's 3 grandkids. So now his goal is he's gonna have to keep up with his grandkids as they age and tour them around the mountains. And it's his health and fitness allows him to do the other stuff.
And life motivates him.
Yes, he just loves being able to, again, he wants to be able to get out there and get on a boat and paddle the kayak next to my daughter Tessa, and he wants to probably ride his bike down the trail. We like to do the bike trails together. So, and then he wants to, when we get a chance, go climb the highest mountain he can find. So it's definitely encouraging to see also that it can still be done. At that age. So
absolutely, Ryan. Thank you so much for being here with us, George. As always, good seeing you, brother.
Pleasure meeting you, Ryan.
Nice meeting you, George.
May our paths cross again when you're down here to
absolutely
run the race.
I'll look for you next time I'm in Tennessee. Sounds good.
Okay.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of Can You See How I See? George and I signing off.